Hello, Saluth. I am the Rasta Witch. Here's where we learn the way of the Yan Sui Rasta, which is to say, my kind of Ital. Please subscribe and begin your own kind of Yan Sui witchcraft. All roads lead to Rome. Home. Okay, so, is that awesome? I'm a huge fan of felines. You've seen my tattoo if you know me. Oh, it's in a place I can't show you. My arm doesn't bend that direction about games. Okay, so. Okay, so in my last video, the last video I did was what other Rastas believe about the apocalypse is the title. Since that was the end of speaking of the subject of the apocalypse, besides when I do the Haile Selassie playlist, I'm going to go over how he opened the seven seals, because if he's the Lion of Judah, then he has to open the seven seals, you know. So I'm going to go over how that happens as the ultimate reference to that. But right now, what I did was I put in an expert. So since I finished that part of the Bible discussions, I put in a video, and it's like an hour and a half long, but it's you get to hear an expert, you know, someone that actually has a degree in this subject, you know, of theology, talk about the exact same matters that I just talked about, you know, so that, because like you wouldn't want to check the validity of my words by asking a family member or a neighbor or a church leader or something like that. I don't know if you've read Matthew chapter 24, but for one thing, that you know, Jesus, that's not the idea. These day of information and all this stuff going on, you know, the end of the book, aka the last days, the end times, the great and dreadful day of the Lord, the apocalypse. It's not an event that would happen, and they've been saying that it was going to happen all this, you know, for thousands of years. They've been saying this year the apocalypse is going to happen, you know, and supposedly it's going to be really bad this time, and it never happens. It's because that's just not really what the idea ever was from the beginning. We might have known with a little education. So that's why we need to be thankful for these Bible scholars. So you can listen to a Bible scholar and you can see, wow, there are people that would call Angie crazy, but they would be the ones that are the uneducated ones. The educated ones, you know, I'm much closer to the educated ones than my accusers would be. So that would be something I would want you to notate. As an ending remark along those lines, before I go into this subject, which has nothing to do with that, just a quick book reference. I don't know if this book's out of date. It's kind of a hard book to get. The Two Babylons. The proper title is The Two Babylons, The Papal Worship, Proved to be the Worship of Nimrod and His Wife, by Reverend Alexander Hislop. The Mark of the Beast, Revealed 666. So when you read books about this subject, you know, if you're trying to gain academic info about it, this is a book that's constantly referenced in any book that you read about the subject. So that's why it's a gem, you know. It's like, oh, hey, God, why do they keep saying, like it says in the Two Babylons? But it's because, like, look at this book. It's written like a textbook, you know. It uses archaeology. It uses facts. See, look, I'll just like go through it. I don't mean just like here and there. I mean like. See, it's very small print. See that? Yes, I've read it all the way through more than once. So it takes the purpose of this book is to give archaeological and historical and factual references to the belief that, like how Ross is always say Babylon, and always, Babylon is the best word to use, just like Jah is the best word to use for God, because God, G-A-W, was the Assyrian Most High God, and it's so for one thing, it's breaking one of the commandments, that you're not supposed to use other gods. But as a witch, I don't care. Another word for witch is pagan. That's not a strict rule in my world anyway. But the the number 666, it's not quite what we think. And by now I've gone over that information. Right now I've gone over that. That just the people that are yickety yakking, the Prince of Air, the ones that have the microphone, they're not the ones that really know what they're talking about. I recommend you go with facts and Bible historians. Yes, this is Reverend Alexander Hislop, but he was smart enough to. Not in this case. It doesn't matter because a fact is a fact. But he proves the similarities. So one book you would want to read by Herbert W. Armstrong is this book here. Hang on. Of course, all Mr. Armstrong's books are free on Herbert W. Armstrong searchable library. You can download them. I've downloaded them. Like on this one, I've got 5 of his books. His books usually aren't that big. That's 5 different books that I've had bound for hard copies. You'd want to read his book, The Plain Truth About Christmas. He also has The Plain Truth About Easter and goes over all the holidays, how they have pagan roots. That's a big one because the reason, the enemy in the book of Revelations in the Apocalypse is sometimes called the beast with 10 head or 7 heads and 10 horns or whatever it is, and sometimes it's called the red dragon. Sometimes it's called the Antichrist, which is actually an adjective. The mark of the beast, and it's referred to like that. My teaching is that the enemy is and it's sometimes called Babylon. Hello, and it's sometimes called Babylon. I see Babylon as the name that's like the umbrella word for all the other ones, and so therefore it's the best one. The reason this is called the 2 Babylons is because it's proving that the Babylon described in the Apocalypse is all the teachings and everything come from the original Babylon, and that's why it's referring to these things as Babylon. So Christmas is the best example. We know. I'll do a video on the birthday of Jesus. I did on my other channel. I'll leave a link in the description box to my video I did on my other channel about the birthday of Jesus. I spent a long time researching it. So can we, the subject of when is Jesus' birthday? The truth is that there's a lot of different opinions on the subject, but no one with any real information would say it was the 25th of December. We can pretty much know for a fact that Jesus was not born on the 25th of December. I think that Jesus was born on the cusp of Aries and Pisces, so he's both the ram and the fish, because he's referred to both things, and that's roughly around that time. So you might as well just say that instead of 3 days earlier where he wouldn't be on the cusp, and then has to be one thing or the other, or 3 days later. And of course I have a song about it called Son of Man, which I put on this playlist, Bible Discussions. And that's where I got the idea for the chorus, where I call Jesus the Ram. But the 25th of December is Nimrod's birthday. And on Nimrod's birthday, so what this is about is Nimrod was and he's referred to in Genesis chapter 10, descendant of Ham, and was the great hunter. The reason he was the great hunter because there was a time in history that life was too dangerous, so wild animals was killing us off. And And Nimrod was the great hunter that could kill the animals and protect the people, and he made the first forts, the first fortresses, cities, and became the first mayor and made many more of those. In archaeology, he's referred to as what's it, Arcad, I can't remember right now. Arcad. Oh, I wish I could remember. Oh well, I should have thought about it. I didn't know I was actually going to go this deep into this. I better cut it out. But he has, that has his coronation name is one thing, and his original name is Nimrod, and that's the name that the Bible goes with. And so he was the first mayor, the first owner through war and through protection and through putting people in cities and being the mayor, the first owner of the cities. Therefore, and it's controversial, though it's not really widely known that it's controversial. They say the first languages, which is really easy to prove is not actually true, and I believe the first languages came from Egypt, and the first written down languages came from Egypt too, and that's much more commonly known in the scholarship coming out of Africa. So anyway, so now that's who Nimrod is, the great hunter. So he was lifted up and created the concept of of God and the king being the same person. That's where that came from. And then he died, and before he died, he married his mom. So his wife and his mother, Semiramis was her name, is the same person. He married his mom, and she was like, oh crap, what do I do? So she scrambled after his death and made him out to be a deity, and made his birthday a religious holiday, the 25th of December. And then like a year later, or was it that same year? I think it was a year later, an evergreen tree shot out of a stump, and every year they'd put presents underneath, birthday presents underneath of the tree for Nimrod to celebrate Christmas. So Christmas, that's where Christmas comes from, and it's just another example. So of course, one of Nimrod's biggest cities was the ancient city of Babylon. So we're talking about Samaria, Babylon, and so all the, how we say Samaria is the oldest place. That's where the languages, the concept of money, and that's where the concept of farming and all these things started in that area. Yeah, it was where all these things started. Some of those things had roots in Egypt. And it's, that's not the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that this is where things really started to happen, was in Babylon. And so now in the age of Laodicea, today, we have, the six seals been opened by, the first through six seals have been opened by Haile Selassie. The seventh seal, which happens not in the next chapter, but the next chapter, not the seventh chapter, but the eighth chapter. We're in between chapter 6. We're in chapter 7 right now. In between chapter 6 and chapter 8 is where the millennium will begin, with the seventh trumpet, and the millennium will begin. Why? So the experts say no, these things were supposed to happen, and they were failed prophecies. But I believe that world peace is the bigger picture, and that's the part that's true about all this, is the world peace part. And the world peace hasn't started yet, therefore it hasn't, but I believe it's going to happen, and I believe in world peace. I believe that in the message of Haile Selassie, which is that we can come together, and these teachings are nutshelled in Bob Marley's song, War. If you've never heard that song, which is actually taken from a speech of Haile Selassie. So that's why it's called Babylon, because nowadays have you ever wondered how come all the Christian holidays, none of them are come from the Bible? It's because they come from the Babylon religion, and the Babylon this and the Babylon that. And the reason the Pope has that one head, is that one hat, they wear those hat things, it's because that's the fish god, or fish mouth. That's a fish mouth for Dagon. And on and on and on and on and on. It's a whole subject, but the umbrella word for all of the above, when referring to the bad guy, is Babylon. So that's why the Rastaman's chanting down Babylon, Nyabingi. You know, Nyabingi is not the name of Babylon. Nyabingi is the action of chanting down Babylon. So this is a really good reference, you know, to reference that, so that you can confidently call the bad guy Babylon. And even though that's kind of going different than the experts. Of course, the experts don't recognize the Haile Selassie connection. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to do 3 videos. The first one, because there's 3 incarnations by 3 witnesses, like the Bible teaches. You know, Jah does things with 3 witnesses. You know, 3 examples. And the first incarnation, the first witness is Melchizedek. The second one is Yahushua, who people call Jesus, Jesus from Zeus, which I'm not trying to do the Greek pantheon right now. I'm just interested in the Bible mythos. So I call him Yahushua, which is the Hebrew. People would have known him as Yeshua. That's Aramaic. I'm not stupid. But the Hebrew is really the language when you get into the Kabbalah. So we use the Hebrew in Africa. And so, yeah, many of the things that I teach, many of the biases and everything, they're African ones, you know. You have to remember who my teachers are, you know. I'm in the minority as a white person. Most people that believe these things are black, even though Herbert Armstrong was white, you know. Remember, if you listen to my video, How the Peace Will Happen, you know, we got to come together and feel all right. Okay, so the ancient city of Babylon. So this video is about not this video. I'm gonna have to do a part 1, part 2. This is part 1, and so that I can just get right into it on part 2, where I will go over Melchizedek. Who is Melchizedek, and what it means, and blah blah blah. And it's a really good subject. It's a super good subject, because the Bible doesn't talk much about Melchizedek, but it puts all this importance on Melchizedek. And you know, he's clearly a deity, but he's barely referred to, you know. And what that mumbo jumbo is all about, you know. And it's because, like so many other things, they've taken that part out of the Bible. So I will read you the story of Melchizedek, probably for the first time, and you can hear about the life of Melchizedek, and you can learn a lot more about what the Melchizedek priesthood, like they call it, really the order of Melchizedek. It's not a priesthood. It's just the Kabbalah, which was something that just the priests would do, men over the age of 35 and priests in the Jewish faith, until it became the foundation of what we call the occult today. So I will stop here. This will be part 1, and we can learn about the order of Melchizedek. How does it tie into this Babylon thing? Well, Babylon, you'll see you'll easily be able to see why who Melchizedek is and what it all means, and the implications and everything was taken out, because it just gives power to the individual, and the concept of word, sound, and power of the tetragram and the occult and these things, and really that's the taking Melchizedek out, believing him in, is the only way to keep things intact, but with you know, the whole reason the Bible was compiled and everything was because there was turmoil in the kingdom. So the king from Judah asked the priest to take all the scrolls and put it into one book, you know, and had to there was biases. There was the northern kingdom's version of a story, and there's the southern kingdom's version of the story, and you had to marry all that together, and you had to add passages that give power to the king and centralize the importance of the capital, which is Jerusalem. And so that's you know, Melchizedek is putting too much emphasis on Melchizedek completely dissolves all those things, which is more relevant today than ever, really. People probably weren't ready for it to be dissolved in the past, you know, but now you'll see, you'll be like, oh wow, why the hell? Not why the hell, it's obvious. Like I said, it's Babylon.